Hello gamers, it's Tom Sidener, the Lonely Gamer, and today is Friday, February the 17th, 2017, and it's time for the news. So the first thing I'm going to talk about here today on the news is an expansion for Bloodborne. So if you're a fan of the Bloodborne game put out by Cool Mini or Not and Eric Lang, they have announced an expansion for it. They haven't given any information about what is going to be in the expansion, but they have announced that sometime this year there will be an expansion for that game. So if you are a fan of that game, look forward to the expansion coming up. Also, the next thing I'd like to talk about is Clank. Clank is one of my favorite games from Gen Con this year. And Renegade Games, the company that put out Clank along with Dire Wolf, have released an app for the game. It's a companion app. It's out on iOS and on Android, and it allows you to play the game solo. And I actually did a video where I play the game solo using the companion app, so if you are interested in that, I'll put the link in the show notes here. I'll also put some links in the show notes to the app, so I'll put the iOS link and the Android link there. But if you're a fan of Clank, then this is a great app to get because it's not only a solo companion app, it's also a companion app for the full game. So you can actually use it when you play the full game, and it adds some random stuff to the dungeon that will give you stuff or take things away as you play, as people do different things in the game. So it looks pretty cool. I'm going to try to get some people together and do another video where I do the actual companion app with a group, so look for that in the future. A couple things that are out at retail right now. The first thing is Small World. The game from Days of Wonder has an expansion that was just released in retail. It's available right now. The expansion is called River World, and the expansion has some pirates and some water areas that you can defend from pirates. It also adds random events into the game, and just has a kind of really nice, beautiful water environment for the game. So if you're a fan of Small World, then this may be an expansion that you want to pick up. Another thing that's out in retail right now is Dungeons & Dragons' new game, Assault of the Giants. Assault of the Giants is a beautiful looking game where you're controlling giants and trying to have them do things like pillage and attack and fight other players and stuff like that. The giant figures that are in the game are huge and really beautiful, and there are two versions of the game. There's a deluxe version which actually has painted giant figures, and then the other version are giant figures that are just like a single color plastic molded figure. It looks like it is readily available in the standard version online. I've seen several places that have it for sale. Most places are around $55 for the standard version, but it looks like the deluxe version is getting hard to find. It looks like it's sold out at most places. So if you're looking for the deluxe version with the painted figures, you might want to get out there and get it as quickly as you can wherever you can get it. That one runs usually around $90 for the game. But if you don't care about the painted figures and this looks like a fun game to you, it is available at retail, so you can go out there and pick that up. Okay, so a little bit of Kickstarter news before we get into our topic of the day. And I notice you see John's not here right now, but I'm going to go find him after I get done with the news, and he's going to come over and we're going to talk about game groups. But a little Kickstarter news for today. Gray Fox, the company that does Champions of Midgard, they have a Kickstarter going on right now for a dual expansion for Champions of Midgard. The dual expansion is the Dark Mountains and Valhalla. So the Dark Mountains give you some green archer dice. Looks like the archer dice are pretty easy to hit with. Looks like they have attacks on most sides of the dice. I know one of the things about Champions of Midgard, I play that game, but I'm terrible at it because I'm terrible at rolling dice for some reason, and I can roll blanks on a dice that only has one blank side. But it looks like the archers are a little more easy to hit with because it looks like they've got hits on most sides of the dice, so it looks like that might be a good expansion for me. The Valhalla expansion looks like it adds Valhalla and a place where you can send your troops that are killed in battle and somehow score points for your troops that are killed in battles. That's one of the things I love about Blood Rage, is the fact that you can actually have a strategy where you make points by just getting your guys killed. It looks like they're going to introduce that in Champions of Midgard in this Valhalla expansion. So you can actually use that same strategy in this game. The Kickstarter is going on right now. It is fully funded. I think it had a $10,000 funding goal, and it's already at like $93,000, so it is fully funded. It's $20 if you want to get the expansions individually, so it looks like it's about $20 for Dark Mountains and $20 for Valhalla, and then it's a $40 pledge if you want to get them both together. I don't know why you wouldn't want to get them both together. It's $40. It's got 25 days left to go as I record this. Okay, so let me go see if I can find John. I'll get him over here and we'll talk a little bit about game groups. Okay, so today on the show, John and I are going to talk about game groups, different things about game group, and starting a game group, and being in a game group, and problems with game groups and stuff like that. So first of all, if you guys are board gamers, and if you're lonely board gamers like some of us are, you might want to get a game group, and it is a good idea if you're wanting to do a game group to kind of, I found, is just to kind of, you know, query your friends and try to find out which ones are, you know, interested in board games and which ones aren't, and then just try to do like a little, you know, get together with some of your friends and see how it goes. So before we ever had a game group, we actually had a couple gaming parties where we just had people over and played some games and tried it out. And the people who actually are in our game group now are a lot of the people who really enjoyed the parties and they wanted to go along with it. And then we have some friends who just aren't gamers. They'll come over sometime, like if we have a big group and we do a big group game thing, like play what's that game? Telestrations. We play Telestrations sometimes, where we have 12 people playing, and they get into that and they have a lot of fun with that. But they're really not into like strategy games or heavy Euro games or anything like that, and they just do not enjoy that, and they just are not interested in playing games with us. So you have to kind of first kind of weed out the gamers in your area that actually, you know, are interested in the types of games that you are. Because if you hate party games, you definitely don't want to hang around with a bunch of people who love party games, because they're just going to want to play party games all the time, and you know, it's not going to be fun for you. So you definitely want to get a group that kind of likes to play the games that you like to play. My game group, they like a myriad of games. They like strategy games. They like heavy Euro games. They like deck building games. They don't like heavy reading card games. Like they would not like Magic. They would not like Ashes or anything like that. So those are the games we don't play with the game group. I have other people that I play those types of games with, and my game group, we just kind of stick to the games that everybody likes. So.
I think you really, also, it wasn't just gamers that you introduced into your game group. Like, I know some of the people you regularly game with, you really turned them into gamers. And so you introduced them to the hobby and sort of showed them a gateway game and got them excited at your parties. And that was kind of what happened to me. I remember there was a guy who I was working with years and years and years ago, and he was really big into board games and kind of like invited me to a party or to come over to play board games or something at one point. And that kind of really got me into it, going over and getting kind of sucked into his group and things like that. And so I think it's not just necessarily about looking for gamers, or necessarily looking for gamers who are into the types of games that you're into, but just people you like to spend time with. You can sometimes turn them into gamers with gateway games and parties, like you say.
Yeah, and the thing is, the people who are in my bi-weekly game group that get together on a regular basis to play games, none of them were heavy gamers when we first started. Like I said, I had a party and I had a bunch of people over. We all got together, we played some games, and the people who really liked it are the ones that kind of stuck around and started coming every other Saturday to play games.
And your core group, I think it was a woman who used to work for you.
Yeah.
And then her husband was coming out, and now their daughter's like a young woman, and she comes out regularly, and so you kind of got the whole family through somebody who worked for you. Yeah, so it just kind of gelled from the people who really enjoyed it. Now we have other people that come in and out on our game group, but it's really our game group has really become like a two-family game group now, where we host the game nights every other Saturday, and then they host the game nights every other Saturday, so we move back and forth between our house and their house. But we have other people who come and go periodically and come into our game group. And that brings up one of the first problems with game groups. And one of the first problems that we have with our game group is getting too many people. So a lot of times when our game group gets together, and usually it's 5 to 7 people that'll show up to our game group. But every once in a while, we'll just have a Saturday where a bunch of people show up, 9, 10 people.
And I really don't mind that every once in a while, but if 9 or 10 people start showing up every other Saturday night for the game group, I'm not going to be very happy about it, because I like to play games that are strategic games, and I like to play, you know, deck building games, and I like to play a myriad of games. And I don't mind playing party games or, you know, large player games once in a while, but I don't want to play 8 to 10 player games every Saturday that we have game group.
The weird thing about your group, and I know there's kind of some reason behind it, but you guys really want to stay in one group and play one game, all of you together. And I never understand why you don't break up into a couple groups, and then you could have a more heavy strategy group with a subset of the people, but they really resist that whenever you want to do that, I believe.
We've tried to do that before. Yeah. We've had it set up before where, you know, we have 4 people playing this game and 4 people playing this game, but there's all kinds of logistical problems with that. One of the problems is that a lot of times the person running the other game doesn't know how to play it very well, and so they're always asking me, you know, like, hey, what's this? And I'm trying to concentrate on one game, and they're asking me questions about the other, so that's tough.
That's tough. Another thing that's a problem in that situation when you have 2 groups is the games never finish at the same time.
Exactly, that's, yeah.
And so you get locked into 2 groups for the whole night. Like you initially say, we can move between each other and mix it up, and you never do that.
That never happens, right? Because this game, they're sitting there and they start another game while you're finishing up this game, and then when you're done, they're all playing. It just, I don't know. We have a really good camaraderie in our group, and we laugh, and everybody jokes around, and we act silly and have a really good time. And whenever you split up into 2 groups, it just kind of breaks that camaraderie, and you just feel like you're leaving people out. Like, oh, I spent this whole night and I never talked to Bobby, or I never talked to Becky, right? So, you know, we really try to keep away from that in our group. We try to just keep our group, and I'll be honest with you, we've had game nights where, you know, we've had people who've called us and said, hey, you want to play games on, you know, next Saturday night? And it was one of our game nights, and I was like, no, we have game night that night, so how about we play the Saturday after? That's the one good thing we did, and the smart thing we did. We knew when we first started our game group that if we weren't consistent, if we didn't say this is a priority in our life, that the game group would just fall apart and go away.
Right.
So my wife and I, we have the game group bi-weekly, so we have a Saturday that we have game night and a Saturday that we don't have game night. And on the Saturday that we have game night, we always have game night, no matter what's going on. And we've had weddings come up on game night, we've had other things come up on game nights, and we still have game night. Because if we start canceling and moving things around, then the whole schedule gets off, and then people just stop coming, right?
Well, it's funny because I meet with online. This is kind of an online game group, but some buddies of mine, when we were in grad school together, we play a ton of Innovation. And so we meet every Tuesday night to play Innovation. And we're bad about that. Things come up, and then we'll cancel for this reason or that reason, or all the time. It's rare that all of us will actually show up and be able to play. And I've worried a few times that the day may come where we cancel it for 2 or 3 weeks in a row, and then we never get into it again, and it just falls apart. So I think you're wise to be aware of that.
Yeah, and I think last year we never canceled a game night, not one time. Now, there was one time where my niece was getting married, so I actually went to the wedding, and when I got done with the wedding, I drove back to my house for game night, and my wife went to the reception. So I went to the game night and she didn't. But when we were supposed to host game night, we host game night because the people who are in our game group are expecting us to be there. You know, they've got plans to come here, and, you know, sometimes they plan snacks and bring snacks and stuff, and so we don't want to let them down. And the smart thing that we did when we first set this up is we didn't do it every Saturday night. If we would have done it every Saturday night, it would have failed within the first 6 months, because there have been a lot of things that come up, and we would have been like, you know, we've got, you know, we're gonna have to cancel game night, blah blah blah. But what we did was smart, is we said every other Saturday night, so we have every other Saturday that we can plan stuff and do stuff, and we just know on the calendar what Saturdays are game night and what Saturdays are not game night, and we just kind of work all of our extra stuff around game night, and it's managed to. I mean, we've had our game group, I think, for 3 years now. For 3 years, we've had, you know, game night every other Saturday night. In the beginning, it was actually every other Saturday night at our place, because we all lived in the same area, but my wife and I moved about 30 miles away from where a lot of the other people from our game group is. And so now this Saturday we'll go at our house, they drive to our house, and then the next Saturday, in 2 weeks, we drive to their house, and then they go back and forth, and so we go back and forth every other Saturday, so that somebody doesn't have to drive every week to the other person's house. But we've managed to maintain the game nights and keep it going. Now, we have, John and I have also gone to game nights at the local game store in town. I actually liked going to the local game store, but to be honest with you, that actually fell off when we kind of stopped going. John moved, for one thing, so he doesn't live as close to the game store as he used to. And the other thing is that it just seemed like me and John would go to the game store and we just play games with the same people every Thursday. It was a Thursday night game night, and it just seemed like we went there. There were a couple people that were really nice and friendly to us, and we played games with them, and it just seemed like every Thursday that we would go, we would end up playing games with those same people.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And so then we started to think, well, why are we bothering to go to the game store?
I had a weird experience that there was a group that would play together there, and I went over to them at one point, and they were just standing around. We were trying to get a game going, and I said, we need sort of 4 more players for whatever it was, and I said, are any of you interested in playing? And they all looked at me and looked away, and one guy kind of like giggled awkwardly, and then a woman who was with that part said, no thank you, we're good. And it was just the weirdest thing. It was like I'd like gone over and said, "Hey guys, want to do a lot of hard drugs together?" And yelling out back, like they were there for a game night. I suggested playing a game, and they just acted like it was the most absurd request they'd ever received. And so that is the one thing. If you're going to your game store, you're going to see odd ducks. And that, I think, is what kind of killed it for me going to the game store. Is it would just kind of like, it'd be a pretty good group on the whole, but there'd be the one person who's kind of annoying and would kind of ruin the night for me.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, you know, it seems like a lot of times if you go to a store and there's a huge group of people, and I'm talking, this place had like probably 30 people there to play games. It seems like a lot of groups kind of go there to just play amongst themselves, and probably just for the space, a nice space to play, and you know they've got snacks and everything there. So I kind of understand that, but it's kind of a, you know, when you're in a situation like that, it's kind of a little hard to get in.
Yeah.
You know, I used to go to game stores all the time for Magic tournaments and play Magic tournaments, and I never felt like it was weird to get in, because you know, it was always like, okay, you're playing this guy, and then you walk up, hey, how you doing? You play the game. Everybody's
tournament's more structured that way, right?
Because it's more structured.
Yeah.
But the actual just open gaming, and another weird thing that happened one time was John went up to somebody and he said, hey, you want to play that game there? And the guy said, well, that's not my game, and walked away. So like there's piles of games like just sitting on tables, and you have no idea whose games they are, and if you see one that he's like, oh, I'd like to play that, you have no idea whose game it is, you know? So having a game group in a store like that can be kind of a weird experience. I mean, it definitely can be good. I went there and played, and if I ever got bored and wanted to go play, I'd go over there on Thursday night, because I know I could find people to play with. I mean, there's enough friendly people there, nice people who will invite you into your games, but you have to kind of be a little assertive, right?
Sure.
If you're a wallflower, don't go to the game store on a game night, because you've got to kind of inject yourself into another group of people who probably already know each other. I mean, I'll tell you a funny story. One night, John was not there. I went there by myself, and somehow I ended up in this back room of the game store playing Cards Against Humanity with like 8 people that I did not know at all. And it's very awkward when people are giving, you know, you're saying stuff about you that's kind of inappropriate. And you don't even know them, you know, and you're like thinking, what are they thinking about me? So that's kind of a weird situation that happened to me, and you know, that's one of the things that can happen when you just kind of wander into a bunch of strangers and play board games. So
yeah. There was a game store that had open gaming in the basement in Cambridge, Massachusetts, back when I used to live there. And the place reeked of BO. You'd just walk down and it'd hit you like a wall. And so that's a factor as well. Sometimes you're in these dark back rooms, and sometimes just the space and kind of the people that are there can be a little bit ripe. Yeah, we're pretty lucky, because the game store we have here in town is a really nice, really nice game store, really nice area. So yeah, no dark, you know, danky basements or anything. But the thing is because these people were playing Cards Against Humanity, the actual owner of the store asked them to play in a room that was separated from the rest of the group, which I totally understand, because if you're doing something that may have offensive language or anything like that, and that's another thing.
my game group that I play with, there's no way we could play in a public setting because we would just offend everybody because we play, you know, offensive things get said, you know, jokes get made, there's a lot of, you know, junior high humor that goes on in our game group, and so, because we're all laughing and having a good time, and so for us, it's just nice to have it at a safe, secure location, which is one of our houses where we're around friends, and you know, you can say, you know, off the wall crazy stuff and nobody, you know, thinks any different of it, right?
Sure.
But game groups are great, and if you can get a game group, it gives you the ability to not be a lonely gamer, right?
Right.
Because there's a lot of times where I really want to play a game and, you know, there's just nobody to play with. And a lot of times I'll sit down and I'll try to play a solo version, or I'll get on YouTube and watch somebody else play the game that I want to play. But I really, really, really look forward to my Saturday night game groups. I know that every other Saturday I'm going to get the opportunity to sit down with friends, with people I enjoy, and play the games that I enjoy playing. And that's something for me that is worth more than money, worth more than anything. It's the one thing in my life that I look forward to every other Saturday night. And that's another reason why we've tried to keep it pretty consistent, because it's something that we do look forward to. So.
Sure. Early on when I first met Tom, I remembered I misunderstood something he'd said, and I thought his wife played board games with him every day. And I thought, this woman's a saint. And I made reference to it at one point. And Tom got so indignant. And he said, I wish she'd play board games with me every day. That was like the dream.
Yes, my wife only plays board games with me because she feels bad, because she's the one who started me on this thing. She bought me my first board game, and I bet you if she had a time machine, she would go back and she would take that present back to the store, because it actually got me into the hobby. It was, once I played that game, I was hooked, and there was no going back, and that was it. And so my wife plays board games with me, you know, when she has to, but she's not a huge gamer, and she would just assume be doing other things for the most part. I'm the gamer in the family, and so. But my wife always, you know, unless there's something like a wedding going on, she's always involved in game nights. She always plays the games. She always wins, so it makes everybody mad. So, but anyway, she is, you know, very supportive in the game playing, and when we have our game nights, she always participates and plays. So
the flip side, we've talked about all the good things about kind of game groups, but it's a pretty common issue that kind of comes up in a lot of board game forums and stuff like that all the time, is how you deal with when there's one person who is aggravating everybody else in a game group, or when there's two people in a game group who have trouble getting along, and kind of what you should do when there's just somebody who's not working out well within the game group.
Yeah, fortunately, we have not had that issue in our game group.
That's lucky.
We have several people that come in and out of our game groups, and we really have none that we have any issues with. Everybody's always had a good time. We've had a couple people who have come and then they haven't come back. So it could be a possibility they didn't enjoy it, or they didn't enjoy one of our companies or something. But the people who are in our core game group, and we've got about 7 or 8 people who are, we would call core, that come most of the time, on and off of different, you know, combinations. We've stuck together for quite a bit of time. So, but there are certain archetypes of people who, you know, do tend to get on people's nerves. And one of them is the rules person, the person who just like, you know, it's just like, oh, you're doing that wrong, you're doing that wrong. We don't really have anybody in our group that way. Sometimes we play the game and then we win and we say, oh man, we messed this up, we cheated. And then we just laugh and say, well, we won and we cheated, you know. So nobody really gets all that, worried about it. Nobody really kind of complains or, or anything like that. We just kind of have fun with it. And a lot of time, and we have games. We do have games that we've house ruled. We've had games that we just don't like a certain rule, and the group says we're not playing it that way. Well, we want to have fun. I think for our group, I think the basic thing is we want to have fun, right? So if there's a rule in a game that's not fun, that makes the game too hard or too frustrating or something, we just change it, and we just say, we want to have fun and we don't want to be frustrated, and we, so I think that kind of keeps the game group from getting overwhelmed. If we had somebody who was like, no, we have to stick to the rules, I think that would definitely grind on, you know, some people's nerves and probably make a difference. The one thing I have to say though, with our game group, and I could see this being an issue, in our game group, everybody wins, right? So we don't have anybody in the game group who's a dominant, like this person always wins. You know, we have a pretty consistent, you know, winning ratio for everybody. Everybody kind of wins every once in a while, and so, you know, it's not like, oh, that person always wins or blah blah blah. So that I think that's one good thing that keeps our game group, you know, pretty solid. You know.
Sure. My experience, I think, has generally been that I want to spend time with people who I enjoy their company, and I'm not so addicted to board games that I'll play with the devil himself if I have to. So when I've been in a board game group where there's just somebody I don't care for, if I'm the one putting the group together, I don't invite them back. And if I'm not, I just don't go back. It's not worth it. To me, it kind of ruins the evening, and I kind of feel like if I set aside time, supposedly to have fun, and then it's not fun, you know, what's the point of doing it?
Yeah, I mean, if somebody was like verbally abusing me or calling me names or being mean to me in some way, I would be the same way. But for me, I could play games with just about anybody as long as they're not being, you know, like I said, abusive in some way. Because what they, you know, how they act or whatever during the board game doesn't really bother me at all. I love to play board games, and I'm quite a bit more addicted to board games than John is. There's no doubt about that. But I would play board games with anybody. Now, if I didn't care for them, I wouldn't stick around after the games were over, right? I wouldn't stick around and chat with them and jaw with them and talk with them and hang out and have a pizza, or, you know, I can't have pizza, but have something with them, or, you know, do something outside of board game. I wouldn't, if I didn't care for their personality, I wouldn't say, let's go get a beer after, you know, the board gaming. But you know, I still play board games with them. I play board games with a robot.
You should start a board game group at a local prison. Yeah. You go in with the like murderers and stuff like that, and kick their ass at something and see how they like that.
Yeah, no. I have actually thought, to be honest with you, I've actually thought about, you know, trying to get a board game group with like a, you know, like a, you know, home, like a home where, you know, the elderly people stay and they're probably bored, you know, and they like to play board games and do something like that. Because
playing board games with a bunch of people in a retirement home,
yeah, that's what
would be the worst experience ever. I think if they couldn't understand the rules and if they're forgetting things, oh, that would be brutal.
But just think how much you would win. Like, I win again. Yeah. So, yep, you forgot to move your guy. No take backsies. No, I actually think that would be fun. And I've played with a lot of older people, and, you know, it does take them a little longer sometimes to, you know, to get the rules down and everything, but they will kick your butt, you know, if you know, once they get it, you watch out, because they're pretty sly. They've been around for a while, and they know what's going on. So
your mother-in-law is surprisingly quite willing to play games, which is kind of neat.
Yeah, my mother-in-law, and I think my mother-in-law should play games more, because she's a good she's good at playing the game. It takes her a while to kind of get the rules down and remember the rules and the strategies, but let me tell you something. I'm no spring chicken anymore, and I'm telling you, the older I get, the harder it is for me to remember stuff. So, I mean, I guarantee you it takes me longer to remember the rules for things than it did 10 years ago. So,
sure.
So yes, but she's a good player, and she likes to play. I think she gets frustrated every once in a while, but who doesn't, right? So, you know.
Yeah.
But, yeah. John and I, we actually had a board game group of pretty heavy-duty gamers. Now, my board game group that I regularly have, we're what I would call casual gamers. We play every other Saturday, and we play just about everything. We play new games, old games, just about any kind of game. But John and I actually had a group for a while. It was a bunch of professors that we work with, and we actually played a specific game every week. So we would meet every week, and we would play a specific game. We played the game Myth, which is kind of a Dungeons and Dragons type game with that you play with cards instead of dice. And we did that for about, almost a year?
Almost, yeah.
Almost a year.
Yeah.
We played through several modules, and we kind of really stopped playing because we finished the last module that I had, and we were waiting for the new ones to come out. And then, unfortunately, while we were waiting for the new stuff to come out, we all kind of got busy and kind of went our separate ways, and we haven't gone back to playing. But we had a really good time. We really kind of enjoyed that. It was a lot different experience than my normal board game group, because everybody was, you know, pretty into games, and so everybody was really up on, you know, everybody would read the rules. Now, that's one thing. My board game group that I play with on Saturday, they do not read the rules of games before we play. I couldn't call them up and say, hey, this Saturday we're playing this new game, here's the PDF, read it, and so you know how to play.
Right.
Never going to happen. They're just like, no, you could just tell us how to play the game when we get there.
Right.
But these guys, you know, they actually, one of the guys like actually researched his character before we played, and he had all kinds of ideas about how he wanted to play his character before we ever even played the game. So the type of people that you play with can make a big difference in your board gaming group experience.
Sure, absolutely.
All right, so we rambled on for quite a bit today. So if you guys have got, you know, special experiences that you've had with board game groups, whether they be good, whether they be bad, whether they be in your house, whether they be at a game store, let us know. Let us know how you set up your board game groups in the comments. Let us know if you like doing it with a group, if you have a group that meets all the time, or if you just get together with friends whenever. Let us know what you think. If you have any ideas that you think would make our board game groups better, shoot us a comment, because we love to hear your comments and we love to hear what you have to say. And so that's going to be it for today. Until we see you again, happy gaming.